They called me Legacy overhead. I was halfway through updating a compliance audit sheet, highlighting renewal timelines for 3 federal licenses, when the video feed crackled to life. There he was. Matt. 30, maybe. Or 29 if you rounded down and ignored the ego. One of those guys who says things like, I bring synergy in bed, and probably thinks Excel macros are a form of black magic. The CFO introduced him as our new efficiency fixer. Translation, smiling hatchet man, tan like he just got back from a month in Tulum. Bleached teeth, haircut that screamed alpha male fade, straight off a Pinterest board. Hi everyone, he said with the kind of smirk only guys who still do keg stands at weddings can deliver. I'm here to streamline operations and eliminate process redundancies. His eyes landed on me, through the screen, no less, like he was scanning for which antique lamp to smash first. I didn't blink, just saved my file. It was labeled Church Pancake Recipes, because sometimes you have to disguise your lifeline. Inside was a trove. Every licensing doc, every federal renewal, time-stamped and internally verified, all tied to my credentials. I backed it up to a private drive. Dana Miller wasn't about to get benched without a play. By lunchtime, I overheard Matt in the break room making boomer jokes to a couple junior analysts. Something about phasing out legacy infrastructure. I'm 42. Hardly a boomer. But in Matt's world, if you didn't TikTok your workflow or speak in Slack emojis, you were 1 foot in the grave. Then came the huddle. Open floor plan? Everyone standing like we were waiting for an HR exorcism. Matt pulled up a slide deck so filled with jargon, it practically had a fragrance. Words like agile compliance ecosystems and decentralized accountability hubs. I watched 3 interns nod like they were witnessing the Sermon on the Mount. Some of our team members, Matt said, pausing just long enough to make it personal, especially those with legacy responsibilities, will be reassessed to ensure alignment with our lean strategy. Then he looked right at me. We appreciate your historical contributions, Dana. Historical, like I was a war monument they were thinking of repurposing into a parking lot. I didn't say a word, just smiled. The kind of smile you wear when someone, unknowingly, walks into the bear trap you've spent the last decade camouflaging. Oh, and quick pause before we go full nuclear. If you're watching and not subscribed, do a girl a solid. I'm clawing my way to 10K subscribers, and you hitting that button is like giving me a chair that doesn't have a missing wheel. 95% of you are lurkers. Fix that. Cool? Cool. Okay, back to the meltdown. That night, I stayed late. Not because I needed to, because I wanted to. I watched the system breathe. Every credential cross-checked on 3 federal platforms. Active, certification, current, renewal control, tied to me, all time-stamped. I printed off a hard copy of my contract, specifically Section 7C. Most people skip that part, the one that says, in the event of involuntary termination, all company-paid licensing responsibilities and regulatory certifications shall be considered void and credentials formally rescinded within 48 hours of nullification. Translation? If they fired me, the licenses went with me. Poof. Nobody noticed when I left the building. But the next morning, Matt looked at me like a lion eyeing a cow, unaware this cow had access to predator drones. By Tuesday, he'd taped a sign above the copier that read, "Compliance Complacency? Comic Sans." And then came the real gut punch. The Evolved Roles Initiative. Everyone, yes, everyone, was required to re-interview for the positions we already held. They spun it like a team-building exercise. Like we should be grateful for the chance to beg for the titles already printed on our health insurance cards. One by one, people walked into small rooms with big windows and came out dazed. The newer folks emerged glowing, parroting phrases like, "Matt really sees me," and "This is such a fresh perspective." I wanted to tell them, fresh air isn't always oxygen. Sometimes it's gas leaking from a busted pipe. When it was my turn, I didn't bring a resume. I brought silence. Matt barely looked up. "Dana, you've been here a while." 10 years, I said. Calm, frosty, like a snowstorm in a banker's suit. Institutional knowledge, we value that. His fingers clicked at his keyboard. Probably typing "fire dinosaur" into Slack. He pulled up an org chart, pointed to a box labeled "Regulatory Stewardship." My name was crossed out. Next to it, "Open to be reassigned." He clicked a second tab labeled "Q3 Renewal Delegation." I clocked the file name, Q3D license, Ruth Plan, fee1.docx. In the comments, someone had typed, "Can this be transferred downstream?" Downstream. In Matt's speak, that meant dumped on someone too junior to spell OSHA. Still, I didn't flinch, but inside, sirens. When I got back to my desk, I opened the database I'd built in 2016, from scratch. The holy grail of compliance, 43 licenses, each one tracked by expiration, certifying body, and designated signature authority. 43 choke points, all tied to me. I exported it, encrypted it, zipped it, renamed it Employee Birthday Cake List, and sent it to a private account. Then wiped the scent trail. Call me paranoid, but I've seen what happens when kids play with matches and call it innovation. Later that day, Matt reassigned my inspection prep to a marketing intern who thought FDA stood for Food Design Aesthetic. Swear to God, she asked if it had anything to do with redesigning the lunchroom posters. Me? He reassigned me to reorganize the janitorial supply shelf. Said it would keep me in the loop at a foundational level. Foundational, like mold. I asked, real sweet like, "Hey, do I still have admin access to the licensing dashboard?" He blinked. "Oh, I think we routed that to Clovey last week." You don't really need it anymore, right? Clue had just learned what a PDF was. Last month. I nodded, then casually walked down the hall to a terminal no one used, and revoked Chloe's access. From the shadow admin panel, I'd never told anyone existed. If they were kicking me off the ship, fine. But I wasn't leaving the map behind. And Matt? Matt didn't even notice. But the fuse had been lit. And he was already standing in the blast radius. The first time I heard them laughing, I let it slide. 3 junior analysts, fresh grads, still gleaming with student loan optimism, huddled around a printout of my old compliance flowchart, like it was some kind of museum artifact. This thing uses color codes, like it's a Crayola box, one of them said. Another snorted. She even timestamps everything manually. Does she know automation exists? They hovered near the break room like a pack of buzzword-hungry poodles, sipping cold brew and tossing around phrases like agile iteration and machine learning integration, as if those had ever saved a company from a federal audit. I walked past them, head high, but my spine burned. By Wednesday, I'd been locked out of 3 internal dashboards, 2 of which, I kid you not, I built from scratch. No warning, no transfer request, just a red 4003 screen and a cold little pop-up. Contact your system administrator. Spoiler, I was the system administrator. Or had been. I emailed support. No reply. I called HR. Their voicemail was colder than a Detroit January. Finally got someone after 4 tries. Sorry, Dana, they said. All HR requests now go through your departmental manager. Translation? Matt, like they were announcing the second coming, but with more hair gel and fewer morals. I didn't reply. Just hung up. Stared at the glow of my locked screen. 3 dashboards. Gone. No reason, just streamlining. Matt was clever in that insidious MBA way. Not clever enough to build anything, but just enough to dismantle it under the polished sheen of words like reorg and alignment strategy. He'd started planting little grenades in his weekly updates to leadership. Phrases like, legacy processes under review. Potential staffing overlaps. Redundant certification management identified. That last one? Cute. Like you could overlap a federally mandated authority signature tied to my biometric profile. I wasn't just a cog in the machine. I was the wiring, the fuse box, the fireproofing. So I did what anyone with a slow-burning rage and a background in compliance might do. I scheduled a 10-minute appointment at a tiny notary office above a nail salon on Monroe Avenue. No grand exit, no big plan, just me, a stiff chair, and a form titled Voluntary Relinquishment of Licensing Authority. I didn't sign it. I just notarized it. Held onto the pin. Just in case things got cute. Then I walked back to the office, sipping a peppermint latte and wearing the deadest smile you've ever seen. Matt passed me in the hall, all chipper. Hope you're feeling more aligned this week, he said. I nodded, just tying up loose ends. He smiled back, oblivious. The kind of smile you find in a self-help book, right next to a quote from Tony Robbins and a lavender-scented bookmark. What he didn't know? Every loose end I tied came with a fuse, and I had the match. It happened, as all corporate executions do, on a Monday. The kind of Monday where the air in the office smells like microwaved printer paper and resentment. Matt's new ritual, his momentum meeting, was underway. He stood at the front of the bullpen in a too-tight blazer, doing that palms-out gesture like he was taming a herd of cattle. Let's start with some candor, he said, which, as we all know, is corporate for someone's about to get gutted. We've been doing a lot of reflection, he went on, pacing like a TED talker with performance anxiety. And while tradition has value, stagnation is a threat. He stopped behind my chair, didn't touch me, didn't say my name, just let the air tighten. Then, effective immediately, Dana Miller's position has been phased out. No warning, no email, no meeting, just a statement tossed into the room like a live grenade. People looked away. A couple glanced at me. One kid smiled awkwardly, like this was just a parking spot reassignment and not a full-on beheading. I stood. Not because I was shaken, because my legs felt too steady for how much I wanted to kick something. HR arrived. Two fresh-faced reps, young enough to still believe in policies. They handed me a glossy folder, like they were offering communion. I flipped to the termination page. No severance, just boilerplate legalese and a line to sign. I pulled my own pen from my bag, signed, then said calmly, "I'll need a printed copy." Matt blinked. "It's all digital." I repeated, "Printed." HR hesitated. I stared. 4 minutes later, I walked out with a stapled copy, a receipt, and the composure of someone who knew exactly what she'd just done. You see, when I signed that form, Section 7C of my contract kicked into effect like a silent tripwire across 3 federal databases. My certifications, every last one, funded by the company, were immediately queued for auto-revocation. Not suspended, not expired, nullified. At 7:13 p.m. that night, my phone buzzed. A confirmation email. Your authority over licenses, CNA 23544, FD 22198, and MDR 508102 has been formally relinquished. Dependent entities will be marked non-compliant in 24 hours unless reauthorized by a certified replacement. I didn't forward it, didn't screenshot it, didn't even reply. I sat on my couch in sweatpants, sipping boxed Merlot, watching Golden Girls reruns, and I slept like a damn baby. Wednesday didn't start with a bang. It started with a whimper and a very expensive box of nothing. At 9:04 a.m., procurement tried to confirm a shipment for medical-grade filtration components. One of our biotech clients, stuff that needs 3 signatures and a biohazard stamp before it even gets near a loading dock. The vendor replied, "Cannot fulfill. Receiving entity listed as inactive. License CN8A3544 expired. Contact listed certifying officer." Guess who that was? 10 minutes later, the dashboard anomalies started. Failed logins, choked API calls, a scheduled data sync with the FDA's audit portal rejected with a code. Invalid license holder. Our internal compliance system, once pristine, once sacred, started lighting up like it had been possessed. Red alerts, credential flags, orphan certificates blinking like distress beacons. Matt, ever the smooth-talking confidence salesman, strolled into the ops pod, holding a coffee cup from whatever trendy downtown cafe he thought made him look competent. "We'll just update the contact info," he said, like he was replacing a phone number on a spreadsheet. Poor Renee, one of the junior compliance analysts, smart, kind, way too young to be in this mess, tried to explain. "Sir, contact updates require certification reauthorization." Dana was the certifying officer. Legally. Matt blinked. So, do it anyway. She was the only credentialed officer with authority across all verticals. No one else is registered with the Federal Compliance Board. And re-registration? Renee hesitated, eyes darting. It takes weeks. The room went quiet. Not awkward quiet. Fatal quiet. The kind of quiet that sets in when everyone realizes the iceberg isn't going to move. And the ship has already hit it. Matt rubbed his temples and muttered, "Why the hell didn't anyone tell me this earlier?" Renee, bless her overworked soul, replied, Dana. Dana was the one who told people that. Meanwhile, I was at home, in sweats, eating knockoff Cheerios, reading the entire implosion unfold via an anonymous email chain a former colleague had blind copied me into. Someone even attached a screenshot of Matt's Slack message to legal. Anyone know how to override a license expiry tag in the dashboard thingy? Thingy. He called it a thingy. That dashboard was my baby. 5 years of structure, logic, policy layering. It wasn't just bureaucratic. It was surgical. I'd coded it so that if anyone without the proper credentials tried to access a revoked certification, it would auto-blacklist their IP and report the intrusion to the internal audit logs. Guess what it did that afternoon? Matt tried to brute force his way into the system. Internal audit caught it, flagged it, documented it. By lunchtime, Shah in leadership was getting frantic Slack messages from above. Can we get Dana back? Does her NDA prevent rehire? Who signed off on this? No one had answers, because the only person who could have answered? She was busy debating soup or wings for lunch. Spoiler, I got both. That evening, I checked LinkedIn. The company still had federally certified across all operations plastered on its profile banner. I almost felt bad. Almost. Instead, I smiled, because by Thursday, that lie was going to cost them more than pride. The seeds were sprouting, the vines tightening. And Friday morning? Oh, that was the kicker. It started with a soft ping, a calendar alert. And then came the dread. FDA randomized site inspection. 10 a.m. Randomized, yes. But within a predictable window, one I'd always built around, quietly, meticulously, aligned with contract clauses, vendor requirements, even moon phases when necessary. The auditors didn't knock. They marched in, clipboards in hand, faces carved out of granite. At 9:22 a.m., the front desk called compliance. 3 inspectors are here. They're asking for the license holder. Silence. Long, panicked silence, because there wasn't one. Matt, now sweating through his Banana Republic blazer, sprinted to the ops wing, parked at legal. Can we get Dana's credentials reinstated? A junior associate frantically Googled license reinstatement process, like it was a banana bread recipe. Matt tried logging into the federal licensing portal using my old credentials. Access denied. Tried resetting the password. User not found. Called the regulatory board help desk. They transferred him 3 times. Finally, a tired woman from the board told him calmly Dana Miller voluntarily relinquished her license authority. Her ID has been removed from the registry. Reinstatement requires full recertification. Average timeline 4 to 6 weeks. Matt stared at the speakerphone like it had just insulted his haircut. He turned to HR. What clause did she use to revoke her credentials? They flipped through the termination file like it was a restaurant menu. We just processed the standard exit paperwork. I don't see anything about credentials. Someone from audit chimed in. Wait, didn't she have a custom clause in her employment contract? And that's when the room remembered. Dana Miller wasn't just a dusty compliance relic. She was the linchpin. And they'd yanked her out like a molar fused to the spine. Meanwhile, across town, my phone buzzed. It was Liz. From documentation, a genuinely decent human. Used to bring cookies during audit week. Snuck post-it doodles onto my monitor when things got rough. Her voice cracked. Dana, did you do this? I stirred my coffee, looked out the window, then smiled. No, I said, calmly. You did? Click. No dramatic hang-up, no shouting. That would have given them too much credit, because this wasn't revenge. This was math. 1 + 1. You fired the wrong damn person. The auditors were still sitting in the lobby. Legally, they couldn't proceed without a certified compliance officer present. Legally, the company couldn't present one, which meant, by 2 p.m., every vendor and client relying on those certifications. Officially in breach of contract. And me? I was getting my nails done. Midnight burgundy. Gel finish. Not because I needed to, but because power doesn't need to yell. It just has to walk away. Monday, 8:37 a.m., the building smelled like stale coffee, dried sweat, and corporate dread. That's when he walked in. Gregory T. Winslow, CEO, bronze tan, silk shirt, the whole walking LinkedIn post look. Man reeked of sunscreen, wealth, and mild jet lag from whatever Monaco yacht trip he'd floated back from. He strolled into the atrium like Caesar returning from battle, finger-gunning at interns, smiling like he hadn't read a single one of his flagged emails. He hit the executive floor by 9:02 and finally opened his inbox. 3 unread messages marked urgent, license compliance failure, 1 voicemail from legal, ended with the words, non-compliance disaster. He barged into ops, expecting turbulence. What he found was a flaming aircraft with no landing gear. Shipments halted, inspections failed, certifications invalid, revenue flatlined. He turned to the room, face tight. Who's handling this? All eyes turned to Matt. And suddenly, Matt didn't look like a visionary. He looked like a freshman who just clogged the dorm toilets and blamed the plumbing. Gregory pulled up my termination paperwork on the big screen. Read it in silence. Scrolled some more. Then, soft at first, like he couldn't believe the syllables, he said, "You fired the license holder?" Matt opened his mouth, closed it. Gregory didn't raise his voice. He lowered it. "You fired the only person with federal licensing authority across all departments." Matt stammered. Her responsibilities were deemed redundant. Gregory laughed. Not a funny laugh. A "my yacht just got repoed" kind of laugh. He pointed at the screen. "Her name is on every document, every compliance chain, every license this company runs on." He slammed a manila folder onto the table. Our 5 biggest vendors, all frozen due to expired certifications, all under her name. He turned to the room. And you let a guy who still thinks Comic Sans is edgy fire her? Matt, desperate, reached for a Hail Mary. I thought we could just reassign the contact info. Gregory snapped. It's a federal license, Matt, not a damn email alias. Legal chimed in, too late. We're trying to reach Dana, but she's unresponsive. Gregory sat back, silent, rubbed his temples like his sunburn had seeped into his skull. Then to no one in particular. Get her back, Matt mumbled. She might not want to come back, Gregory glared. Oh, she'll come back. We'll name a wing after her if we have to. But deep down he knew the woman they tossed, like expired yogurt, now held the keys to the kingdom, and she wasn't standing at the gate anymore. She'd built a new one. 3 weeks later, LinkedIn went nuclear. There she was, Dana Miller, hair a touch lighter, smile a little sharper. Wearing business black, like it was war-paint. New position, Director of Compliance, Stratex Biocore. The caption was short. No hashtags, no humble brag. Grateful to join a team where integrity isn't an afterthought. Just below it, a quiet earthquake. Stratex Biocore secures OmegaMed and Viarc contracts, citing continuous compliance confidence as deciding factor. That's right, the crown jewels. The two biggest clients my old company loved to name drop in every board meeting. They were gone. Walked. Citing licensing instability and regulatory risk. Translation? Dana walked out with the blueprint. Stratex didn't have to beg. I didn't need to sell myself. My name had already signed half those deals. My signature had certified every compliance point from here to federal audit heaven. Meanwhile, back at Dysfunction HQ, still stuck, still scrambling, still watching their once flawless dashboard light up like a Christmas tree from hell. Every license appeal, buried in red tape, every client on edge. Even the office holiday party got cancelled. Budgetary constraints. As for Matt, no goodbye cake, no email blast. Just a quiet 3-minute Zoom call and a transition plan that read like an obituary. 1 week he was barking orders across the open floor plan. The next he was rebranding himself as a freelance strategist. His standing desk, gone. His monitor, downgraded. His corporate cloud, dissolved. The only thing agile about him now was how fast he'd been thrown under the bus. Gregory had legal draft me a proposal within hours. Consulting role, immediate start, 6-month term, reduced base, but huge bonuses for restoration outcomes. Full gag order, no interviews, no public statements, ever. It came wrapped in corporate gold ribbon and a groveling note. Dana, we recognize the critical nature of your previous contributions. Please consider this opportunity to help us restore operational integrity. We are prepared to be flexible. Let's rebuild together. Greg, I reread it twice. No apology. No ownership. Just veiled desperation in HR speak. So I replied, subject, return requested by CEO directive. Gregory, I appreciate the offer, truly. Unfortunately, I don't return to burn buildings. Especially the ones where I was thrown into the fire. As requested, attached are highlighted copy of my signed termination clause, Section 7C, Formal confirmation of my license revocation from the National Registry Board. Screenshot of your internal dashboard. 72 hours post-termination. You'll notice my name, still listed, grayed out, irreplaceable. Wishing you compliance and clarity, Dana Miller. No drama, no threats, just receipts. I clicked send, then exhaled, not like someone grieving a job, but like someone locking a door from the outside. Now, I have a corner office, glass walls, espresso machine, a chair that doesn't squeak when I breathe. Every morning, I check the alert pings from my industry feeds like I'm watching weather I've already outflown. One ping, then another. My old company flagged non-compliant. License status, pending audit failure. Appeal in progress. I sip my coffee. Colombian black with a pinch of smug. Above my desk, pinned to the monitor with a blue push pin, is a single sticky note. Yellow. No emojis, no signature. Just 5 steady block-printed words, in case they ever forget. I was the license. Thanks for riding this corporate chaos train with me. If you like the story, hit that subscribe button, because nothing makes your ex-coworkers sweat like you thriving loudly.